Welcome back. Jiu-Jitsu 2000 here today. I'm coming at you with an interesting video. Today I want to talk about the evolution of spark-based fire-making tools. Now let's look way back in history and let's look at the very first idea behind spark-based fire making. That was flint and steel. So a person would have a rock, which was a piece of flint or chert or quartz, and they would hold on that rock a piece of charred material, more specifically char cloth, and that was a cotton fiber that was superheated with no oxygen, and it would accept a spark. And in the other hand, they would have either the spine of their knife, which hopefully the knife had some high carbon in it, or they'd have a piece of steel. And they would hold the rock and they would sit there and they would run the steel against the rock, and it would throw a spark off. And the charred material would capture that spark. The spark that was thrown was between 600 and 800 degrees Fahrenheit. And it was a great technique, made tons of fires that way. Then evolution happened. The next thing that I remember was the magnesium fire stick or the magnesium fire bar. And what the concept was behind that was it was a magnesium piece of block, and on the back side it had a flint laid into it. And the concept, or how we would use those, is we would take our knife and we would scrape small pieces of magnesium into a little pile about the size of a quarter in diameter, and then we'd flip the device over and we would throw another spark onto the magnesium pile and it would ignite that. Then we'd put our tinder on top of that, put our small pieces on top of that, and we would make a fire. And that device worked great. The temperature of the spark off of that flint was between 1 and 2,000 degrees. Another great idea. Thousands of fires were made, and it was another good concept. Then evolution happened again. Evolution happened. And then they introduced the ferrocium rod. That was a bunch of mix of different metals put into one rod. And the concept was simple. You would take your tinder bundle, which would generally be a natural material like some kind of grass or juniper bark that was ruffled up, or cedar bark, or any kind of tinder. You could use cotton balls, you could use dryer lint, anything that would accept a spark, and you would take the spine of your knife, which hopefully you had a 90-degree spine, and then the back side of your blade you would run down that ferro rod and it would ignite your tinder, and then again you would make fire. The sparks that were thrown off a ferrocium rod were roughly around 3,000 degrees. So from the magnesium bar, which would generally dull your knife because you had to use your blade, to the ferrocium rod, you save your blade on your knife. And that was a huge evolution in fire making. Now folks, you can search my channel and type in the word fire and you'll see tons of videos where I use a ferro rod. I think it's a great technique, I think it's a great concept, and I think it's a very effective way of making a fire. And I still stand behind it all to this day. The reason I like a ferrocium rod over something like a Bic lighter or something like that is because a Bic lighter can get wet and then you gotta wait for it to dry. And then over time you might run out of flint or you might run out of fuel. But on a ferro rod, those things are good. You know, you can pull them right out of the water, soaking wet, and they'll throw a spark. So a lot of people use ferro rods. But folks, I think evolution has happened again. You guys are probably wondering what that new device is. That's this right here. This is the lightning strike. Now what this does is this has a small piece here, has a 90-degree edge. It's a good solid piece of steel. It's got a nice little holder that you can put your thumb into right here. See that? You can put your thumb right here. So now you're not touching the blade of your knife at all. You don't even have to have a knife. You have a small aluminum housing, and inside that aluminum housing you can see that there's a ferro rod. See that? You have a pipe with a ferro rod inside. Now on this back side you have a waterproof compartment. Not waterproof, but watertight. If it's raining, you're not going to get water in there. Now you don't want to go dunking this underwater, but inside there you have a little place where you can stash some tinder. Check that out. And there's enough tinder in here. If you're generous, you can make approximately 12 fires. Now, if you're a good fire maker, you don't need to make 12 fires with this amount of tinder. What I'm saying is you can stretch this out and probably make 20, 30, 40 fires if you understand the principles behind fire making. So the concept here is you could open the fibers up just like this. Get them where they're nice and opened up real well. Try to make it where it'll accept a lot of airflow. And if you smell this, you can smell almost like a fuel. I don't know. It's a very light scent, but you can smell that. So the concept again was to open these fibers up, and you could strike this with the ferro rod just as easily as this device here. But I'm going to scroll down real quick. Put this down, just like that. See that right there? And then you would put this piece into this groove right here. And the thing that was so neat about this groove is it kind of directs your sparks right into your tinder. So you would use the device like this. See that? A little close there. But that was how you would make fire. Now you're probably wondering how come I'm calling this the next evolution in fire making? You're probably wondering that. The reason I call this the next generation in fire making is for two reasons. One, you don't even have to have a knife. It comes with it. It comes with this very sharp tool. This is anodized aluminum. This is a great piece. The included tinder, again, like I mentioned, you could make 12 fires, and that's being generous with the tinder. Of course, you can use natural tinders, all the same tinders that I mentioned earlier in this video that you could use with flint and steel, that you could use with the magnesium bar, that you could use with the ferro rod. They can all be used with this device. Now you're probably still wondering, well, okay, I get it, dude, it's a fancy ferro rod. It's not just a fancy ferro rod, folks. What's going on here is a lot of physics. You've got a barrel, if you will. If you think about the spark that's produced using flint and steel, okay, so you've got, I'm going to just grab any rock just for a visual. You've got a rock here, chert, flint, quartz. You're holding some sort of char on there, and you're sitting there banging it against your knife for a piece of steel. Well, that's good and works great, but the problem there is the sparks, they just fly anywhere at random. The same thing happens with the magnesium bar when you run the blade against the flint. The sparks fly at random. Same thing with a ferro rod. There's nothing that channels those sparks. But this does. This produces sparks. Now I'm going to put sparks towards you just for this video. Look at this. See that? What's happening here is a lot. You're throwing ferro rod sparks down a pipe, so it's kind of like shooting them out of a gun. So the result is that when you channel all that spark and all that fire together and you're running it down a barrel, instead of having a wide range of sparks this wide, which is still effective, you're tightening it up and your accuracy of your sparks is phenomenal. So therefore, it's easier to take a device like this and light marginal tinder, again, because you're showering that thing directly with a ton of sparks. And the result of that ton of sparks being channeled so direct is where a ferrocerium rod put out a spark around 3,000 degrees because it was diluted. When you throw a spark with this, you're looking at temperatures of upwards of 5,000 degrees, folks. And that right there is why I call this the new evolution in fire starting. So please feel free to like this video, share this video, like my Facebook page. If you like the content that you see on my channel, please subscribe. Now I'm going to put a link to this in the description box down below so that you can go check it out. Please get one, folks. It's a great device. I really like it. The only downside, in my opinion, is the price is a little bit high. They run about 67 bucks. But when you think about a life-saving implement, really you can't put a price on your life. Okay folks, there's a couple more features that I want to talk about this device that I forgot to mention earlier that I really like. Now one of them is this set screw. You see this set screw right here? You can see the ferro rod inside, and what happens over time sometimes with your ferro rod is sometimes if you get like a lot of bumping going on like this as you scrape, you'll develop what I call speed bumps. And what happens when you have those speed bumps is your ability to make good consistent sparks diminishes. So the reason I'm bringing all this up is because of this set screw. When you get speed bumps on your ferro rod inside right here, which I don't, you can see mine's real flat. This device actually, because it channels, it's very hard to get speed bumps from what I've found. But if that happens, you can loosen this set screw and then turn your ferrocerium rod inside about a quarter of a turn, and then you got rid of all your speed bumps, and it's almost like having a brand new ferro rod inside the device. When you've done that a few times and it's time to replace the ferro rod, all you have to do is loosen this screw, pull the ferro rod out in its entirety, put a brand new one in. You can get them on the website. I'll put it down in the description box down below where you can get them. And then you put a new one in for 12 bucks, and then you tighten your set screw with a little bit of, I don't use Loctite, but I use fingernail polish. It'll keep it from vibrating loose. It'll keep that set screw in. And then you have a brand new ferro rod and a whole new life on this device. So really, the purchase price is kind of trumped by your ability to replace the ferro rod over time for 12 bucks at a time. Now, if you like this device, or if you want to try this device, or if you're someone who has trouble forking out the price that they're asking for this device, please stay tuned on my channel. I'm going to be giving one of these away. It's a product that I stand behind, therefore I'm going to be giving one away. So stay tuned for that video, and I hope you enjoyed the video today. Please feel free as always to like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel, like my Facebook page. Stay tuned for that giveaway, and as always, have a beautiful day. We'll talk to you later. Bye. Later. Go get you one of these lightning strike fire starters. They're amazing, folks. Now, they didn't reinvent the wheel, folks, but what they did do is make it much more efficient. Fire is crucial. That was a pretty simple fire to make. Not hard at all.